Okay. It's always so funny once you hit record, all the frivolity and talking like totally stops. So,
Gotta get serious.
OMG.
Michael, I have to make a quick call. It's important. I'll be right back. 1 second.
Go ahead. You can put us on mute,
Okay, thanks.
or I'll put you on mute. So earlier today, I sent out a YouTube video that I just recorded. Um, the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. And it's so funny because we can often hear quotes like this 1,000 times, and then one time you hear it a little differently. So I thought we could go into it. The Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. What the heck is he talking about? What is Lao Tzu talking about?
That you can't name the truth. It's not an object that can be observed or witnessed.
Mm-hmm. And what is not as obvious is that if you can't name the truth, then you can't name yourself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Kind of reminds me of like growing up Jewish, and then there was like Hashem, which was the nameless one. That was like how to refer to God.
Yeah, but what they didn't tell us at Hebrew school was
Uh,
we were God. God is
exactly.
looking out your eyes, and it's silent. It's not saying anything. It doesn't want anything, right? Because it's already
Yeah.
the Tao is already whole and complete, and you're the Tao
Yeah.
because there's no separation. There aren't two things here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like,
It's yeah. It's not you
just,
who you think you are either.
yeah. Je suis Jesus. Je suis. I am Jesus.
But so here's why it's tricky to see this is because pretty much from day one, we're conditioned to begin to think of ourselves as a separate person. You're addressed that way, you're treated that way. Others, you see it, you mimic it, and pretty soon it seems like that's really what you are. But think back to the baby upon birth. When that baby first came out, it didn't have any conditioning, but it was the same consciousness as is right here, right now. So what's happened is the conditioning has moved in. It's a lifetime of conditioning that we're like seeing through. And so what happens when that conditioning dissolves is nothing because you never were anything.
That brings in the never born, never dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's literal, like it's not a concept. It's
Yes.
never born, never dies.
Because if you were never anything, how could you have been any of that, of
Exactly.
this,
Exactly.
separate from the whole, or whatever we want to call it?
I was sitting in a funeral, the funeral of my Tai Chi guy, and so his casket and everything was in the front, and but right in front of me, in the aisle right in front of me, like literally right in front of my eyes, was this little baby, and it's like looking all around. It's like I don't know. There was just something about that whole like, he is allegedly died, and then there's this little baby. I don't know. It just it struck me as ironic or
No,
something.
Stephanie, it's beautiful because the baby didn't have any story going on. So the baby's not telling itself it's at a funeral. It doesn't know funeral.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh, there's a Shifu.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, death is just as exciting as anything else.
Mhm.
The baby's thinking, I have a story. I'm about to throw up on your lap.
Actually, the baby just barfs. He doesn't need a story. Just la 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 blah. And then we make up a story. Honey, the baby just barfed on you. So if it can be described, right? If you can tell a story about it, if there are words involved, it's not you. Why?
Yeah.
Because all words are concepts. They're
Mm.
about something. You're not a concept. So that's why nothing can ever describe you.
And they're late.
And they're finite. How are
Yeah.
you going to use a
Mhm.
finite concept to describe the infinite? Tell me.
Hmm.
My
Yeah.
favorite Jenny quote is, and what you come to see is that all thoughts are based off the imagined character you never were. I just love that quote.
Isn't that killer? She
Yeah, it's
said that
killer.
on our Friday Zoom. By the way, we have another Friday Zoom this Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Me,
Oh,
Jenny,
cool.
and Leela will be doing
Nice.
a Zoom. I agree. I heard her say that and I wrote it down and posted it because it was the most beautiful quote. It was just gorgeous that every thought you've ever had is based on an identity that you've never been.
Never were. Yeah, it's wild.
That isn't to say though that you should deny it,
No.
that that expression. Because very often I see in Facebook groups people write something and then someone responds by saying you don't exist. You must have seen that many, many times.
Yeah.
You don't exist. And sometimes I wonder, well, which you are you talking about? Are you talking about this, limited individual personality, or are you talking about something else?
Right.
Are you really talking about the unborn, or are you talking about, or are you trying to deny, the individual aspect of what you are? Sometimes I don't know what people really mean. So I think, that expression of individuality is not real in the sense that it's coming and going, it's appearing and disappearing, but it's still, as far as the totality is concerned, it's also emanating from you, isn't it? So in that sense, it is real. It's unreal and it's real.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the acid test for me. Is there any suffering there? Are you suffering?
Yeah.
Bottom line, yes or no?
Hmm.
Because if there's still suffering, no problem. Welcome to the club. But if you don't want to suffer anymore, you may notice that to say, and I suffer from depression a big portion of my life. So I feel like I know depression well. But to say that I'm depressed, I'm a depressed person is a description of what I am.
Mhm.
And it's not what I am. That's what you come to see. When I thought I was a depressed person, I suffered like a motherfucker, like all of us. But when I saw that that was an identity that I'd come to believe about myself. So basically, you're suffering your beliefs.
Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes, sir. Welcome, Henry.
Yes, thank you. So at birth, at a physical birth, Henry has a date, a month, and a year. But there's another thing that happens at that something else, an unknowable has come in too at the same time. But uh, once I'm given the name, that Henry becomes a story. But there's something before Henry, and there'll be something after Henry that was in Henry.
Yeah.
Is that somewhat what we're saying, or?
Yeah, no, that's not somewhat. That's exactly what we're saying.
Okay, okay,
Yeah. The Henry character is what you could say is born and dies. The character, like, but the you, what you actually are, the eternal, that which can't be named.
yes, yes. But then I get into a lifetime of trying to fix the story or make the story work, but that can never work. And 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 depression, happiness, all those things are part of the story. But the unknowable is untouchable and is eternal. That is the yeah. I, I mean something uh, appeals to that. Something within likes that, and that's kind of why I'm here tonight. I like this space. There's a relaxation in this, and it's like, okay, just relax, Henry. Enjoy uh, uh, the contributions. Enjoy the people, and all is well. Right? It just okay. All right. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't fix it though, Henry, because it's as if one part of the mind is standing back, trying to fix, another part of the
Yes.
mind.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, just the one thing appearing as a feeling.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful, Alexis. It's the one appearing as a feeling. And instead of realizing we didn't change, we're still the one, we start identifying with the feeling innocently.
Yeah.
One thing Rupert Spira says is that it's not that we are not what was I going to say? Like it's not that we're not real. It's that it's not as it appears to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm not quite sure what that means, but it kind of resonates. So,
Well, I would say it means you don't actually know what this is. So you don't really know what you are.
yeah.
That's what seems to dissolve that sense of solidity that you think you know what you're talking about. You think you know they don't know what they're talking about. All of a sudden, all these labels, because you realize you're suffering. Like that became my only interest, you know, is what actually ends. And I was motivated here to go all the way. Like I wasn't satisfied. Like if the analogy I use is like, when you have a pebble in your shoe, from the outside, everything may look hunky dory, but you know where that pebble is in your shoe. And so if you're still suffering, this is an invitation. What's here when all stories are just relaxed?
Yeah. I love that as the watchword or whatever you want to call it. It's like, are you suffering or are you not? You know, that's perfect because that is the acid test right there. Is there suffering? Because that's 100% sure that the thing that thinks it's a thing is doing its thing.
Nice one.
Well, and it's very intimate and personal. So that's why you're invited to feel into yourself. And notice it's not about thinking. So often we go to thought. Really, you begin to not go to mind because you realize it's giving you concepts, and you begin to feel into your body.
Anything that can be known is not you. If it's
Yeah.
possible to know something, it's not you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the mind can kind of trick you because it could go, well, because I see this all the time. Well, why is that? You fell for it again.
Yeah. Mm.
In the early Taoist internal arts, the Neigong, the internal alchemy, they would spend a lot of time anchoring the breath, what they say, anchoring the lung breath, the metal in with the water. And that was a meditation where once you've anchored the metal in the water, you recognize that with each breath in, thoughts exist, but when you breathe out, they don't exist. And it's a wonderful way to start to feel and see the ephemeral nature of thoughts. That on that breath in, it's like, wow, yeah, there are new thoughts, and then that breath out, it's like there are no new thoughts on that breath out. And then the pauses in between breathing in and breathing out, where the mind stops and there's a silence that's for me, it was I never knew that there was anything between thoughts. It was like, no, there's always thoughts. From waking to sleeping, there's always thoughts. And then there was this time when, oh, wait a minute, there's a space between thoughts. And that was just, that was absolutely life shattering and changing and amazing, that there's space between thoughts.
Paul, come on, you remember Eckhart talking about that. Notice the gap between thoughts.
Yeah, but I was like, what gap? What's he talking about?
Yeah, but
What's this
it's
dude thinking?
it's having the direct experience of it, which Paul
Cheers.
is talking about. I think it's amazing how few. I mean, how it doesn't seem to be very common that people understand that. I think what Paul said is that what most people think, that there are always thoughts. It's just there 24 hours a day. They
Mm-hmm.
never see the gap in between two thoughts. But once you notice it, then I think that's important as well, because the noticing of it means that you can now identify it, and then you can do more inquiry,
Mm.
more self-inquiry once it's noticed.
I certainly suffered more. Once I knew there was something there to find, I then started searching for that, which,
Oh
yeah.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what I've been realizing is there's much more gapping, or there's much more space. There's much more time with no thought than we imagine. I mean, because that's what I thought too, is just like we're thinking, thinking, thinking. But actually there is a lot of time when there's no thinking, there's no thought. There's just, I don't know, just
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, Stephanie. It's just
yeah,
not noticed, because before you have time to settle into it, then another distraction will come up. You'll get a phone call or something, or somebody, something will happen that will distract you away from it.
yeah.
Or the gap that can be known is not the eternal gap.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
was just waiting for Don. I was just waiting.
It's classic.
It's true though.
So what is then, Don? What is the eternal gap?
Can't be known according to where we're
Yes.
from.
Thank you, Don. Gold
All right,
star.
yeah. Well, it can't be known as an
But,
object.
but
Yeah,
listen,
yeah.
so don't get hung up on language. That's another trap.
Yeah.
It's just pointing, the finger's pointing to the moon. You're done with the pointer. Now spend time with the moon. So you understand now that silence is where it's at because
Yes.
you're already whole, but you're so used to being identified with your mind that this is like a new thing. It's like, oh, it's possible to be here and not be so interested in my thoughts and more interest in the stillness.
Mm. Yeah.
So, Michael, when you, just to clarify, when you were talking about suffering, you were talking about um, perceived separateness.
Yes. Ding, ding,
Okay.
ding.
Yeah.
Alexis, it was so painful. I can't even tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, because that can turn, a feeling of anger into I'm angry at someone and there's this whole thing happening and this is happening to me
Mhm.
rather than just heat coming up in the body, energy.
Beautiful. And with what Alexis is saying comes the thought blaming the other person for triggering you. Or you could blame yourself either way. I shouldn't get triggered, I lost my cool, I feel terrible. And then
All
you
of it.
sink it,
Yeah.
yeah, all of it.
Yeah. The Latin root of suffering is to bear. Sometimes etymology, like in the story of Alexis, is sort of fascinating, but just the idea that it could be possible not to bear that suffering, that illusion of separateness.
Alexis, I gotta ask you, are you in a cemetery?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Why not?
I love it. I
Yeah.
A
love it.
great church, a great church.
Yeah, they have this all blocked off. It's like kind of it says like caution falling objects, but it's really quite something beautiful. Yeah, in the middle of like this cemetery, which I'm sure was way smaller at one point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So for some reason, something's reminding me of something I'm curious about, which is like if you use the thorn to remove the thorn and
Mm-hmm.
then you throw both thorns away,
Mm-hmm.
can the mind be used at all in this to well, can it be used at all?
Yes,
You know?
absolutely. That's the good news. You want to build something, you want to get dressed, you want to eat. The mind's useful. Oh, where's that ice cream hidden in the back of the fridge? Is that still there? You need the mind. The trouble we get into, the quagmire, is we think we can use the mind to know what we are.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. When you were
Michael, when
speaking,
you said pointing at the moon,
Mm.
that reminded me of Douglas Harding's Headless Man and the
Yeah.
pointing itself.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you think you know what this is, and then what's this? And that was another shift for me. It was just like, you know, what is this view in the mirror? Because I've never seen it. I don't know what it is.
Well, Douglas Harding talked about the headless wave. Yeah, Paul. So
Yeah.
you can notice right now, if you look on the screen, you see all these faces. And in fact, you can look on the screen and see your own lovely face. But when you're looking through your eyes, out your body, so to say, you don't have a face. Where your face should be is, as Douglas Harding said, like a fishbowl that contains the world.
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
It's face to no face. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Douglas Harding. I mean, I remember the big aha I had with him was it's not like you're looking through two holes in a potato. In other words, you're not just looking through these two
Are
holes.
you
You're
quite sure?
looking, you're looking like through the whole shebang, you know?
I don't know if this was Douglas Harding, but was there this exercise where you were supposed to imagine that you were behind yourself, a few feet away from yourself, looking at
Yeah.
your head.
Yeah.
So it was a way of
Yeah.
disassociating yourself from the body mind, or from the body anyway. I think
Yeah.
that was one of his. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Beautiful.
I wanted to get back to the gap, which I don't believe. Why are we calling it a gap? It's because that's almost like a sliver or something, you know,
Mm.
a little area.
Because they're English, that's why.
Mind the gap.
Stephanie, talking of English, I think Paul will appreciate this. If you go into the tube network, what you call the subway, we call the tube or the underground. There are certain stations there where the train comes in and there's a curve on the platform and it creates a gap. And I don't know if you know this, Paul, from London. Every time a train comes and stops, there's an announcement that says, "Mind the gap, mind the gap."
It's brilliant.
I always thought that was funny when I heard that. I was like,
Anyway, Manny, you wanted to get back to the gap, did you?
Well,
that's
so as a me, I remember the me here trying to mind the gap, and it completely didn't work. I failed miserably at minding the gap.
Yeah,
And what I realized was you don't need to mind the gap because there's only gap.
yeah. I think that's what I'm getting to. It's almost like there's life appearing right here, right now, and then thought is coming up, labeling everything late, and it's trying to describe it or keep me safe, the ego safe, whatever that is. But it's always, and it's huge, it's the vastness of it. It's sort of like the I am that. I'm not this sliver of gap that mind says, well, I want to feel the space between two thoughts. That's like time and thought that creates time. And it just kind of plays with that for a long time. But it's almost like the wholeness of life is here right now in the silence. It's allows the thoughts to come in and to spring up because what else is giving it energy to do that and to so that I could actually be aware of it. There's an awareness of it coming from the consciousness, and so it's this is it. When we say this is it already, and then the thought comes up and says, well, I got to see it for myself.
Mhm.
What trickery is that?
Exactly. Yeah, beautiful, Manny. That's exactly it. So the thought may get you 1,000 times. That's why I say you could hear, you know, the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao 1,000 times, but you hear it 1,001, and suddenly a thought, a scenario pops into your head that there's a problem, and 1,000 times in a row you believed it, and 1,001 you're like, well, let's see, let's hold off,
Yeah,
and that's a big deal because for the first time you realize, oh. I think Muji used to talk about not taking delivery of your thoughts.
yeah, yeah. Engaging with them.
Well, he said like the mailman can come, so the thoughts can come, but you're not like putting your hand out and saying, "Give me my mail."
Yeah. So that's where noticing comes in. It's almost like, oh, yeah, but what an interesting story. I just don't need to go there right now.
but Manny, that noticing is not another thought, is it?
No,
Huh.
it's with prior to the thought. It's just a word that describes something that's prior to the thought.
What is a thought?
Now,
What is it?
Energy?
That was another thought.
it's it's
No,
the
that wasn't. That was words.
it's the absence of
Just
thought.
came out.
What, those
Total
words weren't
surprise.
thoughts?
Oh my
Total
God.
surprise.
Oh, that's because it was spontaneous,
Just
like
like,
every thought.
Yeah.
just like, no, like a dog barks a turtle goes to the river, a lamb, you know, words can come out of this mouth without thoughts. Trust me. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
Alexis, where are you? I mean, what?
What city?
Yeah.
I'm in the Lone Fir Cemetery in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
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 Wow. It looks like England or something, but of course, what do I
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
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 So,
The climate in Oregon is very similar to England, like rainy most of the time.
humidity and
Mhm.
stuff.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was just going to say, yeah, you left out the rain.
Yeah.
Mm.
How old is that
Yeah.
church?
I don't know.
Looks pretty old.
You could go ask it.
Yeah. How old are you, church? Very old, it said.
Because things
It's,
are falling off of it as we speak.
it says,
Yeah, right?
yeah, it says I was never born. It just,
Talking of cemeteries, one of my I think it was my great grandfather on my father's side was a grave digger, and he liked his liquor, shall we say?
Oh dear.
And he'd been digging a hole one day, disappeared off to get a few drinks, came back, and he lit a lantern. He was known to go in like the little church thing in the center there. They often have archways, and he would go and lie down and sleep in the archway. But he fell into the grave that he'd been digging and passed out in the grave. And then a young couple, an amorous young couple, was somewhere in the cemetery, and they heard this groaning as oh, oh, and the light came out of the grave and scared
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
yeah, full of stories he was.
Yeah. So it's a matter of, how exhausted are you? Like, try all your tries. Do everything you think that will work to awaken you. And then when you see that that fails, you'll end up back where you started, like the baby when you were 1 minute old that didn't know anything. That's the same consciousness we are right now. It's just all the conditioning. I'm an adult. I lived here. I grew up here. This is my family. There's such a layer of societal conditioning. We're not even aware of it, frankly.
Here's something that just hitting me right now, Michael.
Hmm.
The words.
Hmm.
Was a teacher for a long time, and then he made the expression, "Heaven is the space between two thoughts." Okay,
Yeah.
space between two thoughts, and I go, "That's wonderful. That's wonderful." And now I would say that here's another one. He said, "Work hard, so when you die, your essence will thank you." But get this, you know who's saying that? The storyteller. The
Hmm.
sto-
Yeah.
and so I go, "Wow." And because someone will listen to the storyteller and say, "Wow, he knows something." No, no, the storyteller tells stories, and and it's kind of yeah, the words are so deceptive, but this yeah, okay.
No, beautiful. Henry,
Sorry, Henry. Who said that about heaven being in
The
between?
yes, Mr. Vernon Howard,
Ah,
and yeah, and there'd be stories like imagine train, right? A caboose after caboose and yet little space, right? But there's something right now. It's like, oh, that's nice, Henry, but they're all stories. They're all stories. You're going to suffer. See, and I'm trying to comfort myself with something, and then I'll say a comment like that, and the other person or the other storyteller will say, "Oh, that's nice, Henry. You know something." No, no, we're just telling stories here. And yes,
yeah,
and
let's go into this, Henry. I love
yeah,
it. The storyteller. So, as a baby, all
yes,
of us heard a voice in our head that we called us at some point. There became something. and this something began speaking. And so as we learn language, and it it was our voice as far as we were concerned. That voice was us. You know, that's me thinking, me worrying. We basically bought it. And really the baby, the innocent, the consciousness is so innocent, it really has no choice.
Yeah.
So that's the innocence.
Yeah.
Everybody's innocent.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And pretty soon that thinking takes over.
Hmm.
And we're so identified with it that we really honestly, honest to God, believe that's who we are, for
Hmm.
sure. But suddenly the suffering is actually the way out, because the suffering gets you to go, oh man, something's off. I
Mm.
can feel it.
It's inviting us always. That's what's always going on. That's what I've noticed lately is that invitation from the universe or whatever to come back home, to just to be here, just to be home is always there. But the story comes up, and sometimes I buy into it, and so that's when I go seeking for relief from the pain I'm feeling in different ways.
You know, the thing of it is like when Vernon Howard, who was our guru in the 80s, said that heaven is located in the space between two thoughts. The thing that I had like a little breakthrough when he said that, because that was the first time that I realized that my thoughts were not just bumper to bumper, that there was actually something between, there was some other thing, and I didn't know what it was, between just thinking constantly. And so, you know, it's like every story hits people so differently. And I don't know, that was a biggie for me at the time, because I don't think I'd ever thought of that before. I just thought it was thought city constantly.
Mhm.
Manny, you said something that just evoked a response here in my mind. My mind. No, you said something about invitation.
Mhm.
Invitation. So what I was going to say is, and the gap. So the more you notice the gap, and the more that you acknowledge the gap, the more it will start to spontaneously appear, and then that gap is inviting you to notice it. So what I'm saying is that the habit of going back to that gap means that it starts to spontaneously appear more often, and when it does, it's like an invitation
Mhm.
Yeah,
to pull you back in.
yes. What I also notice, though, that is a process. And when you deal with the direct thing of recognizing that the projection or the apparent thought life, the story life, is not real and it never was, then it's almost like it collapses and there's just the opening of what was always here.
Yeah, because the more you go into that gap, the more it loosens the bonds that you have with the story.
Uh, that's one, what I'm saying is that, yes, that's true, but that's also a process of a little at a time, doing that a little at a time, as opposed to recognizing that there is no me that's seeing a gap, even noticing a gap. There is just this right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with the process. I know that a lot of
Right.
people
No, I
say, "Oh,
don't think so
well,
either. There isn't.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah."
no. It's just a lot of people, uh, we're so caught up in the story that
Yeah.
it could take a lifetime
All right. So
to give up.
I have something to say about process. So this is uh this is ever deepening. Okay. the more there's only gap. So you don't have to look for it. It's not just between thoughts. It's all there is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. I think it's already all there is. And I'm
Yeah,
thinking that there is
yeah,
a different way of doing it.
yeah. No, Michael, you're right. It's always there, but there's a difference between saying there's always there and consciously noticing it. There can be a conscious noticing of it. But yeah, you're right. It's of course it's always there.
If the gap is synonymous with heaven, then it's not a place, it's a position you're already occupying and looking from, but don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not an object. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is kind of humorous when Michael said, see, it's all it, it, it's all a gap. It reminded me of a story with, you forgive me, with Nisargadatta. This young man came to see him, a Canadian young man, and the young man says to Nisarga, it's just love. Everything is love. There is nothing else but love. And then he said, and Nisargadatta then says, well, what are you going to do about that? The young man says, this is a trick question, isn't it? it, it Ramesh Bhaskar was his translator at the time, and Nisargadatta turns to him and he says, that is a rare one.
Mm-hmm.
Rare one.
Yeah.
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 Because Mike said that, I go, well, I got to do something about this. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. The book, the Tao, Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching, the first sentence is the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. He could have stopped there. He didn't need the extra 250 pages.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that just this beautiful paradox of language? It's absolutely empty whilst being so beautifully full at the same time.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you're right, Paul. It's so versatile, isn't it? Language.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, it's just one of those things. I've done it for years. I wake up at 3 a.m. and suddenly my head's full of words and I write them down. And then some time later, I go back and read them and it's like, who the hell wrote this? It's
Yeah.
I have no idea where these words came from or
Yeah.
anything. It's just like, this is amazing. I love it. I love words. And then having I think it was a few years ago, this lying in bed and just suddenly words don't mean a thing. It was just suddenly so obvious, just completely breathtakingly obvious. They're completely empty. There's nothing there. It was just wow. And yet, they're full, they're amazing, they're rich and perfect. And yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Paul,
notice though that words fall short, right? So if you say if I say I cried, or you say I cried, do the words I cried in any way, shape, or form capture the experience of crying?
No.
I mean that they never capture any experience ever. And I use this
Mhm.
with, well, certainly with my grandchildren and if I'm working with kids, they'll say something and I say, well, is this a table? Yeah, this is a table. And I said, well, is it anything else? Someone might say it's wood. And I say, is there anything else? Well, it was a tree. And we go down this route. And eventually, when you exhaust the words, you go, well, isn't it then an infinite expression? Because you don't know when the first tree, you don't know how many people's lives, you don't know anything about it when you start looking. And even with, exploring with words. And kids are so beautiful. They sit there as like, we really don't know anything about it. It's like, so is it a table? No, I don't know what it is. It's like, yeah.
It's a village.
Yeah, yeah. It's anything, it's everything. It's just, where and when, what, how, what, why, and when. No answers. None.
Well, I noticed that Alexis doesn't have her artwork this week, but Leela and I were talking, Stephanie, about, and I think a lot of us were seeing that as two boats in the water, like in a sea. And then you
Oh,
mentioned the little, as soon as you said that little red piece of wood looked like looking out a plane window,
there it
Leela and
is.
I were laughing because we couldn't unsee it. We're like, she goes, yeah, I can only see it looking out of an airplane now.
That's right.
It just shows you that we all see experiences differently,
Yeah.
and it's very freeing to understand that you stop to expect everyone else to see it exactly as you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for sure it's an airplane wing. It's looking on two islands, and there's a sunset in the background.
Mhm.
Yeah, and here, like the little piece of wood, the red that's kind of diagonal there in the corner, somehow that was like a mountain.
Oh,
That wasn't up high, it was just off to the side or something. So it wasn't seen as a airplane window.
If I knew what it was, I'd tell you.
well, it's been
But
very
but
entertaining.
but it's a really good demonstration that it's so funny that we think that's kind of the cosmic joke because for how many years have we said things with a straight face?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The thing on conditioning, the thing that's really helped me understand the immensity of our conditioning is our great granddaughter. When we knew her when she was just, looking around, just oneness. And then she was like, "This is my doll." She's telling her little brother, like she has this little brother that is born after her, my doll, my doggy, and so think how intense that is, even back. I mean, she's like 2 years old, and we have all of these countless years of conditioning. No wonder we think we're a person.
Yeah,
I, it's so intense. It's heavy duty conditioning, worse than
very good.
any
Beautiful, Steph.
anything. Yeah.
Steph,
Mhm.
if you are sensitive, because you can not be. You can be in the dream and it can kind of seem normal, all the like you said, heavy duty conditioning. But when you begin to see how quickly, as you're seeing with the 2-year-old
Yeah.
granddaughter, and how pervasive the conditioning is, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Every medium that we watch or hear, everything we see in Walmart or Costco or whatever, everything is the message, you remember Marshall McLuhan who did like the medium is the message? He
Mhm.
wrote a book on that, how that it was everywhere we went, we were receiving those messages. And that certain things you did, like if you read a newspaper, it was a hot medium because you had to do it. You had to hold it in your hand and you had to read. But television was a cold medium because you could just sit there like a robot and watch television. Anyway, so there are people that have been talking about it for ages, but I never heard it.
Well, it goes like this. So you're sitting there, and all of a sudden the news is on, and they're like breaking news, and you like
Yeah.
perk up. Ah, and now there's a tragedy. Oh, and you get roped in, and now suddenly you weren't asking for a tragedy, but now somehow you have concerns and you're worried and you hope the dog gets saved or whatever it is, and you know, the, you know, it's just when you begin to see through the dream, guys, it's really it's heartbreaking. The amount of conditioning that we sludge through. We think life is limited, that we're going to die, and you got to slave away at your job to make ends. It's such conditioning.
Yeah. So the all conditioning comes from the Tao, as everything does. So therefore, the more conditioning you have, the more Tao you have. So dive into the conditioning, and you're diving into the Tao.
And that news report that comes up, breaking news, this sort of so-called real news about something real, for you is just as much a work of fiction as watching a movie on Netflix.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm.
But Don, are you saying to dive into the Tao, i.e., the conditioning, to just like intensely feel it until, well, like why? I didn't get that one.
I have no idea what I meant by it. It's basically what I'm thinking is just don't deny the conditioning, don't think it's bad, don't think it's wrong. Definitely don't use it as an excuse for your problems, but it's of the Tao,
Mm-hmm.
and that we can't know, that we've already, but we're all assuming that the Tao is silent or good or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where it's coming from. So it's like I'm like deny nothing, because if you deny anything, you're
Yeah,
denying the Tao
yeah.
itself.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Don. If you stay with anything, depression, sadness, fear, if you stay with it long enough, you will end up as the Tao. It will dissolve on its own by you just being with it long enough. It can't, because by being with it, you're not telling it needs to change.
Yeah. It's no judge. It's just aware of it. And that's illumines the thing so that I could see it, so that the seeing is there. And when the seeing is the doing, that's what our teacher also said that, Vernon Howard, the seeing is the doing. And there's no one that's personalized seeing. It's just the
Yeah,
awareness,
yeah.
noticing.
It's funny. Somehow I think I know what he means. Isn't that the way we could say the Tao has been doing everything the whole time. So
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
nothing new to be doing. It's just noticing that.
I heard this story once very quickly. If there were two humans who had come to understanding, had seen through everything, and they were to cross on a street, the most they might do is nod at one another and continue. You know, wow, that's a beautiful thing. And yeah, yeah. Oh, words, Michael, words, words, words. Boy. And Mr. Howard said a million of them, a million of them, and a million stories and a million words. And
Yeah.
he said, you will become a poly parrot. That's what you will become.
We're already a poly parrot.
Yeah, I have arrived. Yeah.
I wanted to ask Paulie something. When you mentioned at 3 o'clock in the morning,
Mm.
that it's almost like a download that comes in, right? It's a down. It's like you're just there laying down and kind of relaxing, and all of a sudden, uh, and it's just it's almost like
Mm. Yeah,
and then
it's
like you're saying, you don't kind of remember. You're trying to remember something because it was so right there. It was like the
mm.
answer to all problems.
Yeah, yeah,
It just downloaded into you, and then
yeah, yeah. I have a friend he's a musician and a singer, and everything changed for him the moment that he put a notebook and pen next to his bed. And the moment he woke with an idea, wrote it down, and then his songwriting just went through the roof. And he now lives in Mexico and travels all over. And he just said everything came down to that when I started to listen to what was already there and not ignore it. And I said to him, I says, yeah, it's the same here when you you have these moments and you think, oh, I'll write that down later, and then you've got no memory of it later at all, none. So
Yeah.
it's that wonderful liminal space. My grandson would say, "You're in the liminal space, Grandpa."
Mm-hmm.
Where the access is there, so you've got to write it down whilst you're there because you won't remember it when you come back. But it
When you've
is,
downloaded it, when you've downloaded it, can you delete the file?
Well, that's the beauty of it, because the file was never there in the first place. It's just it just appears, and it's all fully formed, and you catch enough of it to write it down, and then it's gone. So yeah.
What's coming up for me right now is that, the based on all this, the quote from Byron Katie, loving what is, or I guess that's the name of her book. And it's just like, just right now, just like simply loving what is. What is the suffering, the non-suffering, the trying to get out of suffering, the making mistakes and falling into suffering, the confusion about suffering, I want it now and I don't have it. To love that. It's like, it's almost loving, oh God, because that stuff comes up so fast, the thoughts and all that stuff, that the loving has to, I don't know. I'm sort of in an inquiry about what is loving, what is. What is loving, what is. Yeah.
But it is an innocent, beloved story. I mean, it's just an innocent, beloved story. So why not? Why not?
So just add that extra word in there, which is what is loving what is.
This house is really beautiful.
Ooh, yeah.
Do you get it?
Whoa.
Hey, Dawn.
Yeah,
Hey,
That was
Dawn.
deep. That was deep,
It's
Paul.
in
I
the.
just got it. That was great. I love it, man. That was a good one. It took me a while.
Hey, Dawn. It's in the gap.
Back to the gap.
Man, that's quite the house if that's one house.
Right.
Beautiful. Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael, for
Thank
making
you,
this
Michael.
happen.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Lovely
Mike.
space and
Michael.
people.
Mwah. Thank you
Bye.
all. Have a great night, everybody.
See you,
Bye.
Paul. See you.
Cheers.
Take care. Love you all.
Bye.